Hello, everyone. I'm Talaya Dendy, and you're listening to Navigating Cancer Together, the show that has something for everyone facing cancer. Why? Because everyone is different with different needs, beliefs, and perspectives. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode. I encourage you to open your minds and your hearts. Today, our very special guest is Amita Sharma. Amita is the co founder of NourishDoc, which is a global holistic wellness platform for women to manage their hormone transition from PMS to postmenopause. Inspired by her perimenopausal journey and working in the high tech world, Amita felt unsupported and she felt the need to bring the taboo topic of perimenopause to the workplace for an open discussion. Amita is here with us today to have that discussion about all things perimenopause, menopause, and then also holistic therapies for cancer patients, cancer survivors who are experiencing early menopause due to cancer treatment. Amita, thank you so much for joining us today and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I love the work you're doing. If I can be part of a small little help towards this journey, I feel very honored.
Thank you, Amita. That's such an honor. And I appreciate all that you do for women who are facing, perimenopause and
Mhm.
menopause. It's something that you're right, we really don't hear a lot about. It's not talked about openly, but I've heard so many struggles that women have during the transition in their life. So tell us more about your own perimenopausal journey and how it affected you.
Yeah, so like you said, rightfully said, we women don't understand the perimenopause word. And I was one of the millions or billions of women who did not understand what perimenopause is. And I was caught surprised, not prepared, did not know what to do. I thought there's stigma attached, shame attached, all those things, right? All the feelings that we read about in perimenopause. And the fact is, the perimenopause can last up to 10 years before you
Mm.
actually become menopausal. And I'm talking
Wow.
natural journey, right? Not early menopause forced due to cancer treatment or anything like that. So here you are in perimenopause having strange symptoms and you don't know what to do. And that's my journey as well. There are over 35 plus symptoms that are recorded a woman can go through during the perimenopause journey. I probably had 15 or maybe more. I don't even know. I had
Wow.
every strangest things happening to me,
Oh.
not everything together, but one thing would happen and then, okay, I'm feeling much better, then something else will come up.
Goodness. How did that impact you emotionally? Just going through all
Mhm.
those different symptoms and not even knowing what to expect.
I was a wreck, I'm telling you, because it impacted not only my personal life, but also my professional. At the age of 40, you are at the peak of your career. You want to work, you don't want to retire, right?
Mhm.
And here you are having all these strange symptoms come to you, which are completely unprepared. So it impacts. I'm not the only woman at workplace who was impacted. If you look at the data, most of the women don't talk about it at workplace. Their work gets impacted because of the symptoms. You're not able to sleep at night, and in the morning you're not fresh and ready to go. All those things, and hot flashes sometimes can happen without you being prepared. And all these things happened to me, and it impacted my work, professional work, and that is tied to your financial,
Oh,
right? So it's
yeah.
all little things. So once it starts hitting your financial, then it's serious because you need the money to
Yeah,
survive, right?
exactly.
So to make the long story, it impacted my entire physical, mental, psychological, social, everything. And at that time, I did not do anything. And that's what I am, in the sense, like progressively do talk to people is what I'm saying. I never went and talked to HR. I never went and talked to any of my friends. I tried researching by myself, what can I do? I talked to the doctors, but then I was given medication, take care of one symptom.
Mhm.
But like I said, it wasn't one symptom. One
Yeah.
thing will stop and the other thing would go away. And I didn't want to be on medication continuously for 10 years
Yeah,
because,
right.
right? Because I had had some issues with liver earlier when I was much younger. I had jaundice and I had an enlarged liver, and I did not know what kind of consequences it can have on my liver, which is the main organ for detoxification, right? So all these concerns led me into the holistic world, or navigated me to the holistic journey, that I wanted to go into that deep, really deep, to avoid any side effects of the medication that I might have to be for 10 years or whatever. So
Yeah.
that's sort of really my journey into the holistic world. And once I got into it, you know how it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get into
Mm-hmm. Keep
the,
going.
yeah, you keep going. It's like, oh, it's like going to Rome and you're discovering, okay, one right here, the Colosseum. Oh, there's a Roman Forum, or there is
Yeah.
this, and there's a whole history around you,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you can't say, oh my God, I can't get enough of it. So that's my story of my journey into the holistic therapy world.
Well, thank you for sharing, Amita. And I must ask, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling great. I think hopefully you can sense it, right?
Yes, yes, very upbeat and yes, well
Yes.
rested. Good for you. I do want to talk about one thing, go back to something you said, and you mentioned other women in the workplace. Were you able to sense, or could you just kind of tell that, oh, they might be having some issues as well?
Nobody talked about it,
Mm,
right? It wasn't like it was, there's a poster,
yeah.
in the cafeteria. Oh, by the way, you're menopausal, perimenopausal, come
Mhm.
talk to us. Like
Yeah.
in the companies, they have posters. If you're having anxiety, mental health, come talk to whoever, XYZ. So nobody talked about it. And that's what I did, the same thing. I did not talk about it, is what I'm
Mhm.
saying. I just kept it to myself. I didn't even talk to my family, because I thought you're not supposed to talk,
Yeah.
right? That just grin it, bear it, and grin it, like most of the women do. I think it's
Mhm.
across the cultures that I have talked to,
Yeah.
agnostic of cultures and ethnicity and all kind of economic things of women as well. They generally don't talk about it until few years
Mhm.
back, when our generation of women are all educated. We feel that this needs to come out. Our mothers never talked about it,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
I've always felt really bad for women if I've seen them in public and they just kind of start sweating and you
Hmm.
can just sense the embarrassment and it's like, wow, that's really tough.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm glad you're talking about it. I think it's so important. Let's transition now to talking about your connection to cancer. You shared with me in a prior conversation about your connection to brain cancer.
Mhm.
Please share a little bit more about that and how it informed your work in holistic wellness.
Yeah, I mentioned my dad, he actually passed away about 12, 13 years back because of
Mhm.
brain cancer. And he used to have, he used to forget things and nobody actually paid attention. He would have short memory lapses, not dementia, but he would
Yeah.
forget things, right? For years and years and years. And quite honestly, everybody used to make fun of him. Oh my God, you forget things, you forget the
Oh,
names, forget this, right? It was like awareness or whatever. So, yeah, I think in 2010, he was diagnosed with brain cancer, stage 4.
mm,
Literally, he could not have survived. It was so
wow.
bad. And that whole experience, just, we were all shaken up, right, as the whole family, because it could have, I don't know, it could have been prevented. I'm not a doctor, but at
Yeah.
least if it had been earlier stages, that something could have happened, and he could at least, he could have at least had more years of life. But the way it was all happened, suddenly within 4 months, he passed away. Within 4 months, we didn't
Wow.
even say hello, bye, nothing at all.
Goodness.
It was so bad. One day he was diagnosed, and before I know it, he was rushed into the emergency, which I'm not sure it was the right decision to have a surgery done
Mm.
without, and he's thinking that he'll come out of the surgery perfectly fine, no preparation, no nothing. And boom, after the surgery, he can't talk. He's completely like a vegetable. And 4 months after, he passed away. That's
Oh,
how it happened. And not only my dad, in my extended family, my aunts and uncles, quite a few of them have had either stomach cancer. He passed away because of stomach cancer, and someone else also had cancer. In extended family, also, I have seen cancer, but this is my dad, clearly. So at that time, you think that cancer has no cure. That's kind of what you're told, and why it
mhm.
happens, cancer, nobody knows about it. That was my, sort of like a understanding of what cancer is. And then I've had friends, girlfriends who have gone through breast cancer.
Mm.
So I've seen their journey, and, they have described how they get fatigued, how they get anxiety, how so many things, like suddenly they lose a taste, smell, all these things, right? And how they're trying to live day by day. I mean, all these things I've seen to the extreme, what I shared with you with my dad, who just had no chance, 4 months and nothing, to some of the friends that I have who are trying to live day by day with cancer, trying to do, right? So that has been my exposure to cancer, so to speak. And, I told you my journey on why I decided to go to holistic because of
Yeah.
the liver. And then when I see other women going through that, and to me, it made a lot of sense for me to really dig deeper into the holistic therapies that can help cancer warriors.
Thank you for sharing that. I think it's really important for people to understand one's backstory and how they got to the point of where they
Mhm,
are now and why this work is so important to you. There is something else I want to ask about that. And in your culture at that time,
mhm.
was cancer something else that was taboo that really wasn't talked about openly? Or did your family kind of have an open discussion?
So my family is a bit different. I think you can say that. Yes, it is considered at that time, I'm talking 10, 12 years back, 13 years
Mhm.
back, right? When my dad was diagnosed about 2010. The cancer was not a household name. My parents lived in India. My dad was in India. And in India at that time, it was not like everybody was coming out, it was
Yeah.
considered a taboo or something. Oh my God, people did not have the knowledge. Maybe if you touch someone, the cancer can spread, those kind of strange
Yes.
things, right? But my family, I come from a highly educated family, and most of my family members are doctors. My sister is
Wow.
a doctor. So it was a bit different, I should say that. But yes, as a society, the cancer had its initially learnings, a lot of learnings in that culture and the society. And I think now we've come a long way. The reason is nowadays internet has made it possible, right? Around the
Yes.
world, no matter which culture you are specifically, everybody can read the same kind of research, the news on the internet. So the culture is not
Mhm.
such a big factor the way it used to be a couple of decades back, right?
Mhm.
So it is around the world, which I feel. And then also the younger people have become
Yeah.
older, in the sense the
Mhm.
kids have become, right? So you have to see that factor. Like our generation, the younger generation, so they are very well educated,
Mhm.
also very well traveled,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
So that I think makes a huge difference, that specifically around the world, I can only speak of the culture I come from, that there is a lot of education on cancer now in India. As an example, there are so many nonprofits, the government work that's going on to help cancer survivors, cancer patients, a lot of grassroots movements, specifically for women, breast cancer. So there's a lot of good work that's happening. It's not
Mhm.
like as it used to be a taboo or ashamed, or you can't talk about it, you're going to die. It's not like that anymore, which is great,
Mm.
right? In the last couple of decades,
Absolutely.
has
Yeah.
seen a lot of progress.
Yeah, that's so important because in the past, so many people suffered in silence,
Yes.
and now there's so much more support. So,
Mhm.
thank you for sharing your experience from that perspective. Now, let's talk about how holistic therapies can actually help with cancer prevention and lowering one's risk of cancer.
Mhm. Yeah, so so I'm not a medical doctor. I want to make sure that
Hmm.
we understand that. What I'm going to share is all with the research, right?
Yes.
So we don't know, like from the research that I have seen, specifically for women, I'm talking about women, we women accumulate a lot of toxins in our body because of the hormone fluctuations that happen because of the periods. We know that, right? Progesterone and estrogen. So there's a lot of data that maybe is talking about estrogen dominance and some correlation with the cancer. The toxins that we're accumulating, if we are not purging it out, could be giving to a chronic condition or something else. It could be cancer. I don't know. But
Hmm.
there is a whole concept of AMA, what they call it, the undigested toxin inside your body. If they're inside your body, they're not purged properly, right? That's really the concept of what Ayurveda talks about, what the research that I have seen. Now, as far as prevention and all these things, what I can say is Holistic therapies is not something that it is an alternative. It should be your mainstream, right? Every single day you have to eat, you have to breathe, you have to move, you have to do all these things. This is holistic.
Hmm.
This is
That's
not an
right.
alternative, right? And people say, oh, alternative and complementary therapies. It's this everyday
Hmm.
mainstream. You don't take medication every single day, but you do this every single day. And if you are not doing all these things, not eating right, not movement, all these things are going to impact your body and you don't know how.
If I can please interrupt you, and I'm
Yes.
so sorry, but I just
Yeah.
want to bring this and elevate this up even more. You said holistic therapies and holistic care, that's every day. That's not
Hmm.
something special. And I
Yeah.
just want to thank you for saying that because a lot of people think that it is. That's what we've been taught. But those
Hmm.
are things they used to do way back in the day when they didn't have
Yes.
all these medications and
Hmm.
quick fixes and things like that. So
Hmm.
sorry for interrupting. I just wanted to bring that to the surface.
No, because, and that's why I want to say holistic, because if you are not like food is medicine, what you ingest in your body, it's going to show up, right? And movement, if we don't move at all on a daily basis, it's going to show up. Your body is going to have some kind of an issues if you don't follow a proper daily routine. And if you eat processed food, right? If you don't eat organic, not necessarily everything has to be organic or plant-based or something that nature is producing, if you're eating all kind of fabricated foods or
Yeah.
right, all these things
Mhm.
are, you're developing, accumulating toxins inside your body and you don't know how it's going to show up. That's, it's a very simple, it's very simple, it's not so complicated to understand this. So that's what I would say is that, if you don't have a specific daily routine for taking care of yourself, your mind and body, that's what holistic is. It's not compartmentalized, your brain or your body
Mhm.
here and your this part is this doctor, that part is this doctor, right? You
Yeah,
need to take care of yourself holistically, meaning your mind and your body, your social, your psychological, your relationships, everything. That is what holistic is. And it happens every single day. You're living with someone, you're not isolation. Nobody
right.
lives in isolation in this world. You have someone or the other.
Yeah, thank you for explaining that. How does menopause affect a woman's cancer risk? So, how does menopause affect a woman's cancer risk, if at all?
So there are conflicting theories on this. It doesn't matter if someone has hit menopause and that person is going to have cancer. What I can say is that we talked a little bit about the estrogen dominance and the hormonal balancing. If the hormonal imbalance is happening during the fluctuations of a woman's periods or even during the perimenopause, you want to make sure the hormones are balanced.
Mhm.
And what the data also talks about, not necessarily every menopausal woman is going to have cancer, but if the hormones are not balanced, like we talked about earlier, there are chances of women having chronic condition, cancer being one of them, diabetes, number two, heart health, dementia, right? And osteoporosis.
Mhm.
More
That's a
women
big
have
one.
this. This is a big one. More women have osteoporosis than men. More women have heart health issues, believe it or not. We always thought
Yes.
men have heart health issues. I was shocked when I read the data.
Yeah.
So it's not only the cancer, it's the other things, the chronic conditions that can creep up. So it's so important for women to really take care of themselves beyond the reproductive years because of the hormone fluctuations and the hormones that are going down, that they're
Mhm.
declining because we are not producing babies anymore, right?
Yeah. You have talked about hormonal imbalance, hormonal decline a couple times
Mhm.
since we started our conversation. And I must ask, what are some things that women can do naturally to help with those fluctuations and imbalances?
So I think there is a hormone testing and that when you're younger you can do to get a baseline what the hormones should be and what the difference should be between the estrogen and progesterone and make sure that like I said, so let me just go back when the perimenopause starts happening, right? Early
Mhm.
perimenopause. The first hormone that starts declining is progesterone. So we have two hormones, estrogen and progesterone. Progesterone starts declining first. That impacts our mood swings and vaginal health and some of the other things. Estrogen is still high up there. So now there are chances, a lot of times, that there is estrogen, too much estrogen, too much estrogen dominance can happen amongst a lot of women. And that can be reflected in maybe a weight gain or some of the other things, other kind of symptoms that women can have. So to really recognize those symptoms early on is very, very important. Get yourself, checked up with a naturopathic doctor or getting some testing done. Sometimes testing is also cannot be so accurate because on a daily basis, your hormones are fluctuating like so much, right? So these are things that women early on, I think, should consult with a naturopathic doctor or someone who understands the women's health from a
Mhm.
natural, integrative perspective rather than only medication perspective.
Yeah.
Because medication, I'm not saying I'm not against HRT or medication, but you have to combine the holistic part, right, to really get the full impact. Like,
Mhm.
you need to have diet and all those things. So early on, if women are knowledgeable about, they're not even aware. Like I told you, I was
Yes.
completely unaware. That's the problem we are facing, is that women are not aware that they are now going to go through perimenopause and it's going to last 10 years, and how important that phase is. That is the fundamental problem. We as a society don't realize that women don't understand this. There's not enough research that has been done.
Mhm.
So that's why these podcasts, these little things are so important, that if we start educating women the importance of their care, the self-care, right from 40s and
Yes.
right, they need to have checklists. It was, how it is, okay, the baby's born, we know
Yes.
month number 2, month,
Yes.
or even during the fertility, when women are
Uh-huh.
pregnant, they go through, okay, month 1, month 3, month 6, month 10. It's almost like that. You need to have a checklist,
Yeah.
and that does not exist right now in the world, for that matter. There should be a
Interesting.
checklist.
I
Should be a
agree.
checklist, right?
The more I
Perimenopause, okay,
learn, yeah.
this. Then year 3, because earlier in the perimenopause, as I said, the progesterone goes down, the estrogen is still up. You are going to have irregular periods. There's closer together. There is could be, the periods could last up to 7 days or 10 days. That's what used to happen to me, and they could be very, you know, strong. The flow. Then, as you start inching towards menopause, the periods can go further apart. And then when you're hitting menopause, there are no periods, right? So this whole journey of the periods itself, can you imagine?
Wow.
Like flow going crazy and then going slow, 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 slow. So it could be so many different things that can happen to each woman based on their ethnicity, based on their lifestyle, based on their stress level, based on
Mhm.
so many things.
Mhm.
And I'm telling you, I was completely unaware that I need to be checking on all these checkpoints. So the perimenopause journey, in my mind, should be, once you start getting your irregular periods, you need to have a checkpoint
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah. I agree with you. The more I talk to you, the more I realize how complex this is.
Mhm.
Just you talking about how the period changes, you haven't
Yeah.
even touched on all the other symptoms.
No.
So it is a lot. Now, is that something that you do at NourishDoc when you work with women?
So the periods part, we don't have a tracker yet, but we have a tracker for the symptoms. Symptoms, we haven't even talked about that, but I think the period tracker, I was thinking about it, talking to you, we need to have that built
Yes.
into there, because how the periods are changing.
Yeah.
But the symptom tracker, the symptoms now, there are approximately 35 plus symptoms recorded. Now,
Wow.
I personally had 10, 15, I don't know, lose the count,
Exactly.
right? You can't
Wow.
have one symptom. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why you can't have one symptom. Let's say someone has a problem with hot flashes, which is a
Yeah.
very common symptom.
Common. Yeah.
85, right? 85% of women have hot flashes. Now, if you have hot flashes, you have night sweats at night. Now,
Mm.
because of the hot flashes, night sweat, you're going to have sleep issues at night. Now, if you have a sleep issue, you're going to morning, you're going to have anxiety, and you are not going to be bright and sunny and pepped up. You're going to have fatigue.
Yeah.
Right? So now, how many symptoms I already counted? Like
At
4,
least
5, 6,
5.
right? So that's what you're going to have. And then weight gain is so common, almost not every woman, but again, it's a percentage is very high, 80% plus have a weight gain, specifically around the abdomen,
Mhm.
right? So you're going to have 5 or 6, and an average, if you have one symptom, I'm talking about one symptom, If you have anxiety, guess what will happen? Your gut health.
Yeah.
Okay, right? You know, the mental
Mind
and the
body.
gut brain, mind body,
Hmm.
gut brain axis. So 5 or 6 symptoms very common for women to have.
Wow. And then they're expected to still function in the world as if nothing's going on. Yeah, that's a
Yes,
lot. That's a lot. So the
yes.
work that you're doing is so very important. I would like to talk a little bit about research. I really think it's important for people to do their own research. Are there any like pieces of research or data that you can cite that evaluates the effectiveness of holistic therapies for cancer patients, but then also women facing perimenopause and menopause?
Yeah, absolutely. So the whole premise of the work that we are doing is based on research and evidence because we don't want people to say it's the snake oil and all those
Hmm.
things, right?
Yeah.
Very, very important. So holistic therapy is not just one thing, right? It's a toolkit of so many different things. That's what I want people to understand. We talked about the mind and the body connection. So let's say, for example, there's a lot of research that talks about acupuncture. I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of people understand what acupuncture is. Acupuncture is really, what they do is they stick the needles onto your points, the meridians, and the whole idea is the flow happens better, right?
Mm-hmm.
So acupuncture has a ton of research that helps with cancer survivors as well as with menopausal women with their dealing with the hot flashes, anxiety, all the things we talked about, even fatigue. So acupuncture is one. Then there is a big one called yoga and breathing. Yoga
Mm-hmm.
has ton of research for cancer survivors, helping them with anxiety again, with mental health issues, with calming them down because they have anxiety. Breathing, deep breathing has a lot of research for specifically for cancer survivors, like different type of breathing. There are pranayama, what we call it pranayama, and that is part of yoga. And if women starts learning how to breathe properly, they can help to calm themselves, the fatigue, the pain, all
Mm-hmm.
these things can help, right? As an example, hypnotherapy has a lot of research on weight issues. I talked about that,
Oh, wow.
and also on gut health, IBS, specifically IBS.
Mm.
It's all in the
Irritable bowel
mind.
syndrome,
Yeah, it's all in the
IBS.
mind. Can you
Hmm.
imagine? It's all in the mind. That's
Yeah.
what they tell. So there's a ton of research. Ayurveda has ton of research for cancer, specifically
Okay.
for cancer.
Please explain what that is. Some people may not be aware.
Yes. So Ayurveda is technically science of life, what they're saying. But the Ayurveda 101 is the thing that the universe is made up of 5 elements, and each of us are a combination of those 5 elements, right? And the way they talk about is that each person has whatever constituents of those elements. There are 3 different doshas or 3 different constitutions, so to speak. So they call it as Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. So Vata is like more space and air, Pitta is more fire, and Kapha is more earth. So depending on the constituents you are going to have different type of symptoms. To that point, they go into that detail within the menopause area. So now for within this, what Ayurveda has is the concept of living in harmony with nature and also your mind and body connection. Yoga is a sister science of Ayurveda. Actually, Ayurveda existed before and yoga came afterwards, believe
Okay.
it or not.
I didn't
Uh,
know that. Okay.
yes. So Ayurveda is like the daddy who's laid out all the things, and yoga is one of the children. And but yoga has become synonymous all around the world and become very popular. Ayurveda, I think it's still very complicated for people to understand. So the concept of Ayurveda is, like I said, living in harmony with nature, going through a sort of like a daily routine, following a circadian rhythm in this layman's language. When the sun is up, you wake up, and the sun is down, you go down. Having a rainbow diet, having 6 tastes in any meals, which is saying the same thing of carbo. You have your carb, protein, and fat in meals. Then having a sort of like mindfulness, meditation, and the mindfulness of yoga and breathing, encompassing your mind and body. Then Ayurveda also has this amazing massage therapies where they use medicated oil. And
Mm.
there's a ton of research that talks about how massage helps cancer survivors and warriors. ton of research on massage. And Ayurveda uses medicated oils, herbs that are infused in the oils. They help slather you up, different type of herbs.
And so those oils, Amita, are different than essential oils. Is that what you're
Yes,
saying?
yes, yeah.
Okay.
Very, very
Okay.
different. They're completely different. So I'll just explain you a little bit. Maybe the carrier oil is a coconut oil, as an example,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then in there, what they would infuse is, for example, a rosemary infused some kind of herbs, or herbal oil, as an example, in between the carrier oil, or some other herb, as an example of ashwagandha or some turmeric or some cumin oil. It's all infused into that medicated oil, right? Essential oil are also coming from plants. They might put essential oils in between. I don't know. But
Mm-hmm.
typically, these are herbs that they use. Now, essential oils, from what I understand, they're using trees and flowers and things like that, not so much as herbs, not so
Mm-hmm.
much as herbs. These are all herbs, Ayurvedic herbs that they're using majority of the time, right? And there
Mm-hmm.
are so many herbal oils. So what they do is, in Ayurveda, the herbal oils are slathered around your body depending on what your issues are. And those therapies are done continuously, specifically for cancer warriors. There is another big detoxification therapy that comes out of Ayurveda. It's called Panchakarma. There are 5 therapies. Basically, what it's doing is it's flushing the toxins out of your body, which accumulates specifically for cancer survivors when they're going through chemotherapy and
Mm-hmm.
radiation impact, right? It's very, very powerful. And also, it's powerful for normal people too. I don't recommend that you start going into a punch karma for every person,
Yeah.
but you need to talk to someone. You need to get this
Mm-hmm.
administered under supervision.
Okay.
You cannot start doing it yourself. I'm just sharing with you the tools,
Mm-hmm.
people can have. And I think it's available in this country as well, in the United States. And you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to fly to any other countries to get this done. Then, along with all these therapies I'm talking about in Ayurveda, there are herbs and supplements that are very powerful in Ayurveda. For example, turmeric. Turmeric is available everywhere in the world now.
Yeah.
Ashwagandha helps with the anxiety. Turmeric is inflammation. If you have turmeric, it helps you. But you were talking about the prevention of cancer. It has
Yes.
inflammatory properties in turmeric. Along with that, you need to use the black pepper to increase its absorption, as an example.
Thank you for sharing that, Amita.
There's a
And
lot of
there
information.
is
I
a
don't want to
lot of
keep going in.
information and it's good information. But when you talk about these things like the herbs and the turmeric and the black pepper, even the supplements,
Mhm.
where do people find quality
I
ingredients?
know, I
That's
know.
the thing that I've been noticing is that some of the
Mhm,
stuff out there is not quality. So, what are
mhm.
some things people should look for in terms of quality?
Yeah, unfortunately, we are not manufacturers of these
Okay.
supplements. I
Okay.
can't vouch for any company. I don't want to, because lately
Uh-huh.
there has been a lot of press about the
Yes.
quality of these
Mm-hmm.
supplements. It is important. So we will start selling the supplements in collaboration with the experts. But at this time, I can't say go to this company, is what I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to say. It's
Yeah.
not right for me to vouch for companies, but do
Yes.
your research very carefully where they're sourcing the materials from,
Okay.
right?
Sourcing.
Yeah,
Okay.
sourcing is very, very important. And, I think there are quite a few companies who are pretty decent, if I'm not mistaken, but I
Mm-hmm.
personally have not used them. So I can't say, I can't vouch for it. But
Yes.
from what I've heard from others is there are quite a few companies here in the United States that the quality is pretty good.
Okay.
But I would do
Okay.
my research. But what I'm saying is, like turmeric root, like as an example, rather than buying a turmeric powder. That's what I do. I'm just giving you
Ah,
how I do it.
yes.
Like ginger root, I know it's coming from the earth, right? Don't buy the ginger
Gotcha.
powder. I buy the ginger root, and I'll
Mm-hmm.
kind of crush it and put the crushed turmeric. So I buy the ginger root, I buy the turmeric root, I buy whole black peppers, as an example, and crush it myself. Then I'll buy seeds, coriander seeds, cumin seeds, fennel seeds, crush it yourself, even the bay leaves, cinnamon, all these you can buy whole.
Mm-hmm. And you
right?
know what's going on with them. So if you
Mhm.
crush them yourself, you know nothing's added in and
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the way I have come around not buying the powdered sort of like spices, but
Mhm.
the whole spices, like the seeds itself, and
Yeah.
then just grind it at home to, so at least I feel that there's some freshness to it, right?
Yeah.
That's all I can say. Hopefully the seeds are better, because what I've heard is once the crush is there, they mix something else. Who knows what's mixed in the powder, right? As an example,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So I would highly suggest your viewers to buy the actual seeds, and just kind of grind them at home.
Mhm. That's a great point. Thank you for pointing that out and sharing that. What are some holistic therapies that actually helped you, Amita, on your journey with perimenopause and menopause? What has been effective for you?
So I changed my diet completely. I'll tell you that. I used to eat processed food like most of us are used to. I wasn't a heavy burger kind of an eater, but still
Mhm.
I had enough processed food going inside my system. I completely 100% no processed food, fresh food every single day.
Mhm.
It's a lot of work,
It
but it's
is.
worth it. It's
Yeah.
worth it. Every single day, fresh food, if you can have, specifically for cancer warriors, it's very, very important. That's what Ayurveda talks about, freshness of food. Don't take food that's stale from even one day. Try to have it every single day, fresh food. So I
Mhm.
have implemented that on myself. Every single day, fresh food, every single day, movement, exercise, whether it's a walking or lifting weights. We talked about osteoporosis earlier.
Mhm.
It's very important for women to lift weights, very important.
You're
So
not
that's
going to
what
get bulky.
exactly I used to think I'm going to get
Yeah.
fat.
Yeah.
I never used to lift weights. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to get fat and I'm going to look whatever.
Yeah.
Helps me down so much. Um,
Yes.
and then I use some of the herbs that I talked about in Ayurveda. Like I
Okay.
use Indian gooseberry, amla, I use triphala, I use moringa, I use quite a few of them. And then in the morning, I typically make an Ayurvedic sort of herbal tea in the morning.
Okay.
I put all these things I told you: ginger, black pepper, turmeric, all the roots, some triphala, some lemon juice, a little bit just to get the taste of it, and drink it every single day to help build my immunity, because turmeric has a lot of research. So these kind of things I have used in my personal life on a daily
Mhm.
basis, and nourishing myself with the right thoughts, right? The positive
Yes.
thoughts, getting rid of all the negative energy from your body and mind. I'll tell
Yes.
you, I had a lot of it quite a few years back. I had to purge it out. And I think all of us have that,
Yeah.
conflicted relationships and so many things, right?
Life will create that. Yes. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these are some of the things that I personally have used. I use a lot of massage oils on a daily basis. I massage myself. I massage my head at least twice a week. I use facial oils. I make sure my gut health is in a really good shape. A lot of
Yes.
women ignore gut health. They think going to poop every day is okay. It is not okay. So if you start incorporating these small changes, start something small, you will feel the difference.
Mm.
You feel, I mean, if you had seen me 15 years back, I barely had energy. I could not, be so enthusiastic the way I
Mm.
am talking to you, because of all the probably accumulation of toxins that I had in my body.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your experience with holistic therapies.
Mhm.
What tips do you have for cancer patients and survivors who experience early menopause due to surgeries like hysterectomy or even cancer treatment?
Yeah, so early menopause, there is a research that links early menopause to diabetes. Okay, so if women who are experiencing early menopause might be diabetic after a few years, and even early menopause is also linked to osteoporosis, all the chronic conditions we talked about, dementia, because you are now depleted all these hormones earlier than they were supposed to be.
Mhm.
So I highly recommend to to get a consultation with someone about early menopause. Don't take it lightly, because maybe you are talking with your oncologist. Oncologists might not be well versed with the hormones fluctuations that are happening in your body. So you need to talk with someone who understands, all these things that we are talking about, because you can check the research. Early menopause and chronic disease correlation is so clear. There's a straight line,
Yeah.
literally a straight line.
Yeah.
And you don't want that happening. Specifically, you're going through your cancer journey. Now you find as you go past 50s and 60s that you have another thing that's happening, God forbid. Like I told you, dementia, osteoporosis, heart health, diabetes. These are
Yeah.
serious, right?
That's
So
right.
early on, in addition to your oncologist, you need to be talking with someone who's experienced in the impact of early menopause to a woman's body and correlation with a chronic condition. It's very,
Great
very
point.
important. Very,
Great
very
point.
important. I cannot emphasize, I've seen so much research on this.
Yeah.
And our
Yeah.
hope is that we bring these kind of experts on our platform. At least women have the opportunity to ask questions and go to the next level and be informed.
Yeah. Because everyone's so different, as you mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
it's so different for everyone. Please tell us more about the NourishDoc platform and the membership,
Mhm.
the benefits of it, and as well as the cost.
Yeah, so NourishDoc, www.nourishdoc.com. We are releasing the app on Android, iOS, and on the web as well. The whole idea is it's going to be priced less than $10 a month, $6, $7 a month. The idea is to really empower each and every woman out there to understand what we are talking about, right? The perimenopause, postmenopause. We also have a specific program, a detailed program for cancer survivors, how to use holistic therapies. My experience, as I told you, I felt so weak and not
Mm.
empowered despite having gone through so much education. My idea is really to empower each and every woman out there to understand what can happen to her body and use the right knowledge and consult someone. So this $5-6 is going to tell you perimenopause, postmenopause, and all the holistic therapies that go with each concern, the symptoms. So we have, in addition to peri and post, 21 plus programs, self-care programs that will help you understand the symptoms. And
Nice.
then in addition to that, we will have, for the low cost program, once a month, some kind of an expert that women can ask questions,
Nice.
right? Now, if someone wants to the next level, then of course there are upgrade options. But my idea was to really reach as many millions of women as possible so that they understand what's going to happen in their body and make informed and intelligent decisions and feel empowered and use holistic therapies not as an alternative, as a daily main every single day. And
Every
that's
time you
what we
say
have.
that, I smile. Sorry.
I know. So really, that is really the idea of I want to do that. I've left my high tech job and doing
Yeah.
this now because I feel very strong about it.
It's very important. And I want to thank you so much for doing the work that you do because, again, so many women are just suffering and they're
Yes.
embarrassed and they feel alone and they just feel hopeless. So,
Yes.
having something like this is very important,
Yes.
especially for women who may have experienced early menopause because
Mhm.
of cancer treatment.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
another thing that they have to figure out and go through.
It's very complicated. It's very complex.
Life
More I
changing.
read about it, yeah, you might, I don't know, I'm not a medical doctor, but from what I read, you might need to talk, I don't know if you need hormone therapy,
Mhm.
HRT, in addition to the holistic, so you definitely need to get a consultation with endocrinologist or someone who understands the hormones of a woman's fluctuation due to the cancer. It's not just only the menopause now.
Mhm. That's right.
And incidentally, I was talking to an MD. That's what she specializes on. She herself is a breast cancer warrior, and she specializes exactly the same thing what we're talking about on women going through cancer, having menopause, perimenopause early on, what to do, the whole
Mhm.
thing. So we
Mhm.
might we want to bring these kind of experts to help educate the women who come to us,
That's right.
right?
And you mentioned hormone therapy, and that has its own set of
Yes,
controversies and issues
I
and
know.
things to consider. So it's a lot, it's complex.
Yes.
I just want to encourage any women out there listening, do not do it alone. Reach out to Amita, check out NourishDoc. I will have all of that information in the listen notes so you can easily access that information. Amita, what is one I wish I would have known? And it can be related to anything.
I wish I had known at that time the journey, the length of the journey that I was going to embark on at that time. I think, I'm talking about my personal journey of this whole perimenopause because it impacted my entire lot of life, my career, my so many things. So I
Mhm,
wish I was a bit better informed, better educated, better empowered to be prepared.
mhm.
I don't know what's going to happen in the journey. Nobody knows, but at least all you can do is try to prepare yourself as much as you can for the journey, and the outcome is what it's going to be. Nobody controls the outcome.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Amita. There's a woman out there and, she's facing perimenopause or she's been going through menopause or maybe she has
mhm.
experienced cancer and early perimenopause. What would you say to her? Anything special you want to say?
Have hope. You are not alone. All of us are voicing, thanks to you, and so many women out there are coming out and talking about this and bringing all the resources out to help you. So don't feel alone and don't feel ashamed of whatever is going on in your body with your body. You are not to be blamed. Give yourself permission to love yourself, give yourself permission to whatever you want to do. Don't hold back. That's what I want to say.
Beautiful. That is a great way to wrap up. Thank you so much, Amita, for your time, all the knowledge and wisdom that you've shared with us. And I highly recommend anyone listening to get in touch with NourishDoc. They have a lot of great information and resources backed by research, I might add. Amita, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
I have a very important question for the listeners out there. Do you have perimenopause or menopause? And what has been your experience so far? Will you try any of the tips and resources that Amita recommended during this episode? Please let me know. You can send me an email, nctpodcastfan@gmail.com. That's nctpodcastfan@gmail.com, or you can send me a message on LinkedIn. I would really love to get your feedback. And we are in this together. Just know that you do not have to suffer in silence with anything that you are going through in life. There's always support somewhere. It's just a matter of knowing what's available to you. And that is the purpose of this podcast. I would like to give a shout out to the listeners. Thank you so much for joining us. Please share, follow, or subscribe so that you can easily find Navigating Cancer Together and listen again. If you're finding these episodes helpful, subscribe to the Navigating Cancer Together newsletter. I will have a link in the listen notes so you can do that easily and stay informed, stay in touch, and stay ahead of new and helpful episodes such as this. That is it for this Wednesday. And until next time, let's keep navigating cancer together. Take care.